Arapaho tribe has as tribal priorities to preserve the Arapaho language and maintain tribal culture, including ceremonies around the buffalo, long since vanished from the Great Plains.
Arapaho people, Indian people, whenever we're going to do something that has a significance, we always humble ourselves and give thanks for this day, and then give thanks for the blessings that we have had, and we ask for guidance for the future. So at this time, I'm going to offer a prayer, then we're going to have a song here by our Eagle Drum Group. You guys touch the buffalo? Why nine by it's not a being by hatting. The nine by honey Johnny. Then I can knock high. Then I can hot tea. Best see you and knock high with net that being hard. He thought the new need net sawan or Tahinana. It was the men that took the buffalo, but it was the woman that processed the buffalo. So what we're going to do at this time, we're going to get one of our women here to make the first cut.
Even though the language is taught in school, students spend the majority of their time at home or in the community interacting with family and friends, where there is inconsistent reinforcement of cultural cues learned in the classroom.
Hadi hini hus as ina tina hadi jan ta tina na hi si non hu tina ha tina hu sa ka ku ni na sin hi san na hu sa. You want to tell them about how this come about, how we're going to what we're doing?
Buffalo's been a part of our tradition for many years, and that's how our ancestors survived. Buffalo was their Walmart. So when they took away all of our buffalo, then they were directly affecting us as people. So we're trying to revitalize how important buffalo was back then and maybe in our future. It's a really important day today for all of us to be part of this activity here. It's not just another thing. It's something you should really pay attention to and respect. Respect Dickie John and his elder ways.
How can a traditionally oral language be made relevant to young people who are connected to games and other mass media screens?
When I talked about how we move from one location to the next, you can do it based on gaze. So if you look in a certain area for a certain amount of time, then it clicks you into that next world. So now, let's go outside, just pick it up.
To answer this question, Wyoming Community Media Producers teamed up with Lori Hoffman and the Makerspace 307 Summer Youth Service Learning Program based in Fort Washakie.
We work with schools on the reservation. A lot of the teachers like to bring their kids in here.
4 students participated during the 3-day class and production project.
Every year we work, the Makerspace partners with the Workforce Investment Act with what they call their summer youth program, and they pay students to work in the summer.
Northern Arapaho elder and storyteller Merle Haas wrote down a short story passed down to her from her great-grandfather, Chief Yellowcalf.
The stories, they contain a lot of information about how our ancestors lived in the past. Not only that, but that's how children learn morals, of how to conduct themselves.
The Fox and the Wood Tick teaches a lesson about thinking outside the box. Northern Arapaho Eagle Drum Society member Allison Sage spoke about the traditional importance and healing properties of making music.
Now you can sing real freely, but before, because of the 500 years of stuff, like the ceremony we had over here in the Sundance, it was illegal, forbidden. we lost a lot of our ceremonies that kept us well, kept us healthy, because the white man said you can't do those.
Artist Robert Martinez gave a presentation about how tribal artwork has evolved over the years and continues to be an important means of storytelling.
Natives and Aboriginal people across the world were the inventors of abstract art. They were doing it way before Picasso and any of those guys ever even thought about. In fact, they took a lot of that art form from us.
We worked closely with Bob Ottinger and their Reality Garage in Boulder, Colorado, who loaned us a Views camera, a Samsung 360 camera, and a high-speed computer.
So virtual reality, it's different than your typical just watching a movie or watching TV, because it's very immersive. I think it's great for young people to jump into this, because they're probably going to be the best crop of people that are going to figure this stuff out before some of us older guys.
This is a pilot project that demonstrates an efficient way for tribes to present traditional language and cultural preservation efforts in a not-so-traditional format to tribal and non-tribal cultures.
My name is Sage Woman. My English name is Merle Haas. And I received my stories at a very young age from my uncle, Ralph Grasshopper, who received his stories from my great-grandfather, Chief Yellow Calf. And probably the difference between my uncle receiving these stories and I receiving this from my uncle is that my uncle received these stories in Arapaho.
Across the land over hills and just prairies and just running. And you could hear them for a long ways away because there was millions of them. And when they would jump, they would have to jump ditches and ravines and bushes and rocks and logs and everything.
I think that the stories, they contain a lot of information about how our ancestors lived in the past. Not only that, but that's how children learn morals, of how to conduct themselves. Starting at a very young age, as they got older, and what was required of them, of how to act in tribal society.
As they ran, and these downbeats that I do represent them jumping. And it also represents, the song also represents the rumbling and the thunder. If you ever heard a thunderstorm, it's rumbling. And then you can see lightning. And then you'll see lightning hit the ground, you'll see lightning strikes. That's what this song represents. So it's just not a song, and they don't have words, but it goes like this.
See right here, that triangular shape with that could be both a mountain and or a lodge. Really simple, really direct, but really abstract. Just a simple shape to communicate a bunch of different things. The same thing with this strip or these triangles. The 4 hills. This could be a road, or it could be something totally different. Whoever made these moccasins would have to tell you the whole story of what they all meant. The same designs on a different pair of moccasins could mean something totally different.
And this whole circle of this drum represents life. We born, we go through our stages of life, and when we end our lives, we complete the circle.
A lot of the young parents don't know the language, so what's kind of sad is that the children, they learn the language like an immersion. And me and my daughter, my daughter understands and she knows how to speak it. She knows how to read it, write it, and I can read it, write it. But if they're not getting any support at home, well, it usually just kind of fizzles out because of the young parents not understanding the language, and that's where we're kind of having a problem right there.
This would be the traditional equivalent of a comic book or a storyline, right? So in the winter, when we didn't have a lot to do because of the weather, usually it's a certain person in the tribe or people that could do it, that were given the right to do it. They would make these story hides or winter counts, depending on who we talk to, what they call them. Just like your project, they would make an image for something that happened during that time.
So I know you guys are probably scared to sing too, but maybe sing in the bathroom, maybe sing in the shower, maybe put headphones on and walk down the street and sing. So that's what I would say, is just be creative, use your creative side and go with it. Because you guys got a lot of creative things. You guys got things that we don't even think about, you guys.
There needs to be more support for these immersion programs for the language because, but ironically, the adults, just like the young people, are, overwhelmed with, just trying to live out here, if there's a choice of getting a book like this with Arapaho language in it, that might be whatever they charge on this book, and putting in a tank of gas, they're going to choose the gas. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Our language will return, because without our language we cannot live in the way that our Creator intended, and we can start living. But at the same time, we're striving, and then we will conquer. We will conquer the educational system. These children here will become professional people. They'll be doctors, lawyers, hydrologists, whatever we need.
They, at a very young age, when I first could understand, that's when I began getting these stories, and it wasn't until I was about 5 years old, maybe, that my uncle bought the first television set on the reservation. That was like 1958. But prior to that time, everything was just told to me.
New mediums that come up, there's going to be another layer of creativity. There's stuff that we haven't even thought about yet in terms of how it's going to be applied.
It's all about observing, paying special attention to everything, every moving part, observing. Science is a great deal of observance, and so is art. And so there's a great crossover.
I think that the stories, they contain a lot of information about how our ancestors lived in the past. Not only that, but that's how children learn morals, of how to conduct themselves. Starting at a very young age, as they got older, and what was required of them, of how to act in tribal society. They learned norms, right, wrong.
People will learn based on their ability to be part of the discovery process, right? So you can sit down and watch something that is passive and somebody can feed you information. That's one way to learn. Another way of learning is actually having it interactive, and I think that's where I think you're going to absorb things a lot more.
These kind of maker spaces are a great place for that, you know. Just a curious mind, you know. How do we develop a curious mind in young people or teachers, you know? I think that curious mind we are all born with kind of gets stomped out of us once we start school. It's more about memorization. And so what we want to activate is that curious mind and letting kids know it's okay to experiment, it's okay to fail.
Interact, have this experience, learn, and feel something, and then if you want to make other decisions and then support some call to action, then that's where I do think that connecting the VR world with the online world will be even more powerful.
A lot of the stories that I tell, there's no influence from like modern society, and so that's probably the interesting part about it.
They can learn stuff, present them with some options, and then kind of bring them to making decisions while they're in the headset, and then causing some action. Is it, you know, somebody's going to donate something or adopt a pet or decide that they're going to inquire to get more information, or they're going to volunteer, things like that.
I can't just tell my story to my grandson because he's on his phone playing games, or else there's the TV playing, there's music, you know, there's so many different other forms of entertainment now that, you know, sometimes they don't have time to listen to somebody tell a story from the past.
And I think that the technology that goes into cell phones and goes into self-driving cars, the computer vision technology, and that helps drones fly and stuff like that, all of that computer vision stuff is also very related to virtual reality and augmented reality. So my projections over the next 5 years, this is going to be pretty commonplace within 5 years. It's not going to be as commonplace as a cell phone, but it'll be as commonplace as entertainment systems in your homes.
Buffalo was gone, absent from our way of life. There was a gap in our circular way of life. And by returning to Buffalo, we fulfill that cycle, and our people will be able to get along, be able to accomplish a lot of the things that are essential, that are necessary for us to survive as a people.
The sacredness that my grandmother talked about is in actuality the life, you know, of the people, not only in the past but how they can bring it into the future.
I doubt virtual reality will bring back the buffalo, but VR can make encounters with them much safer when students learn about their cultural significance. When it was all said and done, the youth combined their self-composed music and original art to tell Merle's folktale in 2 dimensions and 360-degree virtual reality on location at the historic Arapahoe Ranch Mansion north of Thermopolis, Wyoming.
So what was your impression of the ranch?
It was fun. And since my mom used to go there, it kind of made me feel a little bit more better knowing because one of her grandpas used to be out there working, so she'd be with him.
I think it's going to be cool because it's a kind of traditional story, and it's my grandma's actually, Merle. And yeah, it's a pretty cool experience.
So maybe say some kind of encouraging word for people to participate in the makerspace?
Try it.
Maybe I'm interested in virtual reality. It's pretty fun though.